Yeah. There's a lot of like traditional music, a lot of like medieval stuff that you can learn on it.
Snood music.
Snood music. Have you heard of bardcore?
I have heard of bardcore. It's actually pretty good.
It is. It's almost like an alternative to lo-fi for me at this point.
Mm.
It's recognizable music, but like there's no words. It's very obviously it's very instrumental, but it helps me like kind of zero in and focus and lock in on my very important insurance work.
I like the idea of bardcore, but I'd like it. I also listen to a lot of like ambiance, where I think we're on different spectrums of the spectrum here. And I listen to a lot of ambiance that's like medieval dungeon ambiance, 2 hours, no music. Like that's the YouTube title. So I would like if they merged and it's just you like playing, but every once in a while you just hear in the back like, oh God, oh my God, because that's what it would have been like. I don't know if anyone's ever read The Great Mortality by John Kelly. 100% recommend. One of my favorite books. It's all about the Black Plague, and it was terrible. So I think if we're gonna go, we're talking about the Ren Fair, everyone. Hello, this is the cold open. If we're gonna go to the Ren Fair, I think we should go as plague-stricken individuals.
Yes. I'm sure we can learn the makeup, put on like leper spots or something, you know?
Yeah.
That'd be fun. Really just scare
people. Says Daniel's in insurance too. I feel your pain.
Oof.
A
Brother
fellow insurance night.
Insurance night. I dub the Sir Claims a Lot. Who knows?
Sir Claims a Lot. We're gonna get sued by Sir Mix-a-Lot for some reason. I feel like he owns all those IPs. Take these off, the glare is too much. But hello everyone. Welcome in to the fucking day is it? Monday the 9th. We're Plague Doctor mask. Honestly, Plague Doctor sounds like a Spin Doctor cover band. Welcome in everyone. Happy you guys are here with us. We've got a fun show. There happens to be like a ton of news out, I feel. And it always happens because my incredible, wonderful girlfriend has started making all of our graphics. If you guys haven't noticed, like we've kind of had an overhaul. We're posting on our Instagram again. And once I figure out how to use it, well, I'll make Daniel do it. We're going to start posting on our TikTok again. So we're slowly doing more and more, but we were me and Daniel are in a chat with her, and so we're giving her all the news, like this is what we're doing. And I was like, I'm always afraid Daniel to say the news too early, because why? What happens today? Tons of news come out.
Drops.
Fucking Golden Globes come out. Jeremy Allen White's putting on a fat suit. And it's just like all kinds of madness. So we'll cover as much as we can, but we do have some stuff that we're going to do. And then the back half of the show, we're going to go into some Wicked news and then close the whole thing off with our Wicked review. And Daniel will be doing the whole thing in a Boston accent.
I sure will. I got my car outside. It's packed by the harbor.
You got to turn it right. Pocket.
You got pocket.
I don't think we're really known for our accents, so maybe we'll move on from this bit. But hello everyone, thank you so much. Like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Thank you so much for joining us. We are very, very excited to get into this. Daniel's worked very hard, as he always does on these shows. Let's just say hi to some folks. Mr. Kennedy, hello. Steve, sweater weather. No, now I sound like JFK. You can't do it. Well, it's never stopped me before. Hey, Steve, I know you're going to be in bed soon after this. So thank you for counting sheep with us. Liza, Dwayne, Gagano. We can't do it. We can't do it. This is Luigi. What's his name? we can't. Don't say it, because these shows are supposed to be timeless. Mr. Richard, hello. John, hello again, twice. Let's see. Smarty pants. I can't do the Boston is hard.
It's like an American English accent. You just like stretch out the R's. Smarty.
It's
snark like, on it.
It's the accent exists in this space between like we are better than you and yet somehow dumber.
Fair. There's a lot of people in Boston. The Dunning-Kruger effect is at an all-time high.
Yeah. It's like the Pabst Blue Ribbon of accents.
Oh, not PBR.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, hello everyone. Thank you so much. Steve, he said, "You're so bad at accents. You're both Latino and don't even have a Latino accent."
It's true.
I do it work because it moves the career ahead. So,
My diversity
alrighty,
hire.
Daniel, we have got some news. Come through, diversity hire. All right, well, everyone, we've been holding space for Daniel's news today. So, Daniel, kick us off with our first bit of news.
So the first bit of news, it's gamer news, right? And this is something I was real excited for. Something you may have been terrified for, at least some members of your team.
Yep.
Marvel Rivals has launched. Just came out this Friday, and I gotta say, it is incredible. Truly such a fun game to play. I don't know if anybody's had a chance to try it out yet, but it just launched. It's a character shooter, right? So it's in the same vein as like Overwatch, where there's a select roster you're allowed to pick from. Every character has its own set of abilities and passives and attack styles and whatnot. The gameplay is incredible. It's a 6v6, so there's 12 heroes on the map at all times with no recurring characters, so you can't have like 2 storms on a team and all that. But there's 33 characters to play from right at launch, which is kind of crazy because like most of the hero shooters have like debuted with a dozen characters or something like that, and then gradually added more and more as time went on. And some were paid, some were battle pass items, so it really does compare to other shooters like Overwatch and whatnot.
Right. And I think one of it existed in this space between it like having to reach the mountaintop of Overwatch, and they're like, just don't be Concord. Which Concord, if you guys don't know, was another game that launched pretty recently, about 3 months ago. And it has since not only completely stopped operations, but I believe that division, that company, or that publisher, no, the dev side has gone under completely. So, which is going to be pretty ironic because not ironic. It's going to be pretty awkward because they are in the game anthology show Secret Level that's coming out soon.
Yeah.
They've got a Concord episode.
Yeah, which I remember hearing about. I think somebody like tweeted it or something shortly after Concord had gone under that they still had an episode coming out on like this brand new show that wasn't even out yet.
Yeah, so it'll be pretty interesting. I mean, I know that you pulled up some stats, Daniel. What were some of the stats because it was pretty impressive, like even day one, right?
Yeah, day one, within the first 2 hours, they had 440,000 concurrent players on Steam alone. And that's just Steam numbers. That's just PC. I believe it's just PC.
Yeah, they were over. They had to have been over 1 million, easy.
But notably, no server issues, no downtime. A game that big, a game that popular, like there's typically some kind of server issue, right? You get you download it, you pre-download it, you get home to play it, and it's down. A lot of games aren't expecting that kind of traffic, and I think this is one that they saw the weak points of like other games and really like made sure that they were shored up on where the others had fallen. Yeah, Steve noted servers were stable. I was able to play as soon as I downloaded it.
Yeah.
I was awful, but I was able to get on.
I did just download the game because I was in Texas all last weekend and I have not had the chance to play it. So I'm going to play it. Me and Daniel are going to play after this. What level are you? Or like, who are you maining?
I'm level 6 at the moment. I've been maining Adam Warlock, actually.
Oh,
yeah. He plays a lot like one of my Zenyatta on Overwatch. That's like my usual main.
She's the woman in Dune.
yeah. And her ability is the singing. She can summon a sandworm. No, I play the robotic monk, and he can heal and deal damage, and that's kind of where I've always like played a support character, right? I'm the guy healing in the back, trying not to die. But Adam Warlock can deal some pretty good damage too.
Yeah, and he's a mobile character, right? He's aerial as well.
Not really. When you die, you get like a second chance, so it's pretty cool. And then that's when like he turns into this like ethereal mode, and he can kind of like zip away and then go like respawn just like off in the corner, and then you can just right back into the battle. But yeah, he's got some really good healing options, really good damage output, and he's been like my favorite so far. But I've tried like Jeff the Shark, and he's like strictly healing. He's a little like he's supposed to be like the easy healer, but I couldn't really get the hang of him.
Yeah. Steve said he was a Soiter Moira main before the
Soldier.
Oh, okay. I didn't.
Oh, before they removed 6v6. Yeah, and that was another point of contention.
And they just brought it back, right?
Yeah, they just brought it back. And I think that was because Marvel was bringing the 6v6 like at default. And a lot of people had so Overwatch, like they kind of lock you into roles, right? So it's like it's one tank, 2 or 3 DPS, and a healer, right? And whereas like Marvel Rivals, you're open. You can pick any character you want. There's no like set like limit. Like you can have 6 tanks if you want. I think there's only like 4 tank characters. But they don't like railroad you into these certain roles. You can kind of pick and choose as you go. But yeah, I feel like it makes for a more like fluid game, right? You can really react to like what's going on, and you're not locked into like just a specific healer.
Yeah, and I know that one of the things that people are most excited about is like the possibility of all of the like the different skins, because I find it interesting that this game is so popular. Like, it can't be understated how big that this game is, considering I think collectively we're all in a little bit of a Marvel fatigue. And so it just kind of goes to show like what Marvel fans and even gamers want, because there's not necessarily a direct correlation between comic book readers and video game players. Like it's there, but it doesn't, like there's a lot of Marvel stuff that comes out. Look at was it Midnight Suns?
Midnight Suns, yeah.
Which was like fine, but they were like, oh, this is going to be gangbusters. And it didn't really translate because like the quality of the game was not great, but the quality of Marvel Rivals is supposed to be like amazing. Like people want to get on and play as their favorite comic book characters, and that's what this allows you. Like that's the fantasy that it allows you to fulfill.
No, absolutely. And like there's like some more like B-level characters, right? B-level. Like Squirrel Girl is in there, and she's just tearing people up. There's already like calls for
she beat Thanos' ass in the comics. She's gonna beat up 9-year-olds playing Marvel Rivals for free.
No, absolutely. There's already like the gamers are already calling for nerfs to certain characters like Jeff, Squirrel Girl, Iron Fist. A lot of people are having some trouble with Iron Fist.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah. But yeah, it's a pretty solid game. It feels, somebody's commented on Twitter that it feels like every character is overpowered and like unbalanced, but in a way that kind of makes the whole game balanced.
Right.
That makes sense.
Because if everyone's overpowered, no one's overpowered.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, it's been fun. I've been really enjoying it.
Every US citizen needs a tank. Because then who's going to say shit, right?
I mean, who is going to go toe to toe with the tank?
Just your fiance works with HOAs. Imagine if he rolled up asking for shit on a tank. It could make his workday a lot easier. You and Steve,
say, your HOA dues are due, and then you just hear like the tube loading.
Just like your fence needs to be moved back. I've taken care of it for you. Denied. He said, "Can I play? You can play as Uncle Ben, but only once."
Wait, why?
Because there's a rice joke in there somewhere, and I just can't get it. Steve will figure it out. Yeah, they greatly overestimated the size of that Venn diagram overlap. Tenchi, I think, is talking about Midnight Suns. 100% agree. That's what happens when you have bad market research. But Marvel Rivals is out. Again, we're going to play tonight a little bit. If you guys are interested in playing with us, we can drop our gamer tags, or at least I can. Oh my God, I want to play Doctor Strange so bad, but I heard he's not like a great character. Like
he's a little slow, but he's got like the portals mechanic where you can like set up, and it's a neat system the way they do it. It's like you can plant the first one, and then
I saw it. Yeah, I saw someone post one like off the map. So like they posted it off the map, and then everyone like walked into the other one and right into it. It was pretty great.
But we need to talk about how caked up Spidey is in this game.
He's Yeah, I mean, he brought yams for Thanksgiving for sure. He's carrying, he's carrying a tank back there. It's
He's not missing leg day. That's for damn sure.
no, I think it's all of the jumping from the wall to wall is probably what's doing it. But Marvel Rivals is out, everyone. Play it. It's free, by the way. If you have a console, I think it's like next gen and like Steam only. So like if you've got like a PS3 and you are somehow obviously a time traveler still playing your PS3, then I don't know if it's going to work for you. But if you do have have a next gen console, it's free. It's free to play. It's fun. Incredibly frustrating and difficult, but fun.
Absolutely. Yeah, Scarlet Witch has been beating my ass left and right. It's not fun. It's not fair.
Yeah. Much like Colin Jost. All right. What else we got?
Next piece of news is Creature Commandos. So somebody mentioned that you were a little DC fanboy in there, and this could be your time to shine. But yeah, Creature Commandos debuted this last week, December 5th. So this week, with 2 episodes. Oh, there it is. Gorgeous art too, I gotta say. His name's like Phosphorus or Dr. Phosphorus or something. He's like, I think the coolest looking one, personally.
Yeah, they definitely had some fun with him. He kind of reminds me, and someone can correct, like this is a Tenchi, look at me. You know this. I can't think of his name. His name's like Mr. X-Ray or Mad X-Ray. He's a comic book character. You'll know exactly what I'm talking about, but the art reminds me of that character. He's like Max or Max X-Ray or something like that. But yeah, it's really cool art. And for anyone out there and they're just like, oh, finally they're bringing Creature Commandos, don't listen to them. No one. I have been reading DC comics for upwards to over 20 years now. I have read one Creature Commandos comic book. Much like the Guardians, like it's such a out of left field.
Yeah, like a D-list character kind of team up. And now, don't get me wrong, I mean, maybe I just need to be educated. Is this not just like Suicide Squad 2 or something?
Yeah, it is definitely reminiscent of that. I think James Gunn probably couldn't get everyone involved in the Suicide Squad. So I think this is the DCU skirt around all of that. Damn commercials. Commercials on Max? Maybe.
I feel like if you're paying for Max, you shouldn't see commercials, period. Same with Prime. Prime gets me, but yeah, it always upsets me that there's like 3 minutes of commercials at the very top and then nothing during the show, which is fine. But if I'm paying for Prime, I shouldn't be seeing any ads,
Yeah. Hold on, let me address this real quick. Tenchi. No, it's it's sort of like the art style that it reminds me of. I just can't think of the name. I have these comics somewhere in storage and I can't. It's like X-Ray or Max or Mad, like something. But anyways, yeah, I think well, he had some before I watched both of the episodes and I've been following this pretty closely because I really want James Gunn's DCU to work, but I'll save my opinions until after you've said your piece.
Oh, me. Okay. So yeah, I think this is the first entry into the DCU, the new James Gunn universe. And I think it was in an interview. I don't have the interview loaded here, but there was an interview where somebody asked him, what can we expect to be like canonized in this new DCU? And he said that anything that like is explicitly referenced or shown on screen is like canon to the new DCU. And so I think that kind of ties into Suicide Squad with Weasel, right? Or the Weasel or whatever his name is.
And it's Gunn's version of Suicide Squad, so the more recent one from I think 2018. Because like Weasel, and there's even some jokes within it that he's like, he's like, well, the last time he was on one of these helicopters, things didn't go so great for him. So he's like kind of losing his mind a little bit. They like very briefly reference Peacemaker. So I do kind of I really like that. I like that James Gunn isn't sticking too firmly. Like he's not trying to have the like the Marvelification of continuity of
Right,
him
right.
going to every single minute and making sure that it like lines up. He's already kind of stated he already as he did and people have chopped up said like, oh, it's going to be more like Star Wars than it is going to be Marvel.
Mm,
Yeah, exactly. And I think what he means by that is like in Star Wars, right? We can jump to a show that takes place during the prequels, and then you can also have Mando, which takes place after the original trilogy. So like it's gonna have these like pillar films, much like probably like Superman and a Flash movie and a Green Lantern show, but that everything else can take place years before. Like I think Sergeant Rock, who is going to be not Pierce Brosnan. What's his name?
Daniel
Uh,
Craig.
Daniel Craig. Thank you.
Mhm.
I think like stuff like that. Obviously, it'll be set in the 40s, which the David Cornsweet Superman isn't. So he's going to kind of just like go all over the place. And I think he's really just going to start throwing stuff out and seeing what works. I don't mind it. I don't need a lot of continuity. I just want to see cool movies.
Mhm.
Let's see. Tenchi says Gunn is definitely trying to have his cake and eat it too by scrapping the entire Snyderverse, but keep the parts he was involved in making. Yeah, yeah. I'd be very surprised if we get a lot of Snyderverse. He's already like taking shots at like Snyder heads, Snyderverse fans.
Snyder Bros.
And
We gotta work on that.
yeah, yeah. There is a corner of the internet of channels who are very right wing, who are already calling the show like woke and everything because James
Woke
Gunn is attached.
trash.
Woke trash, yeah, and just I mean, it's not really a spoiler, but in like the first couple of minutes, there's like Themyscira simps, like literally like verbatim, like is what it says, and
Oh,
and stuff like that, and the boys of Themyscira or whatever, I forget what it's called, but the show in general, I felt is fun. Daniel, I feel like the humor and like the way that the characters move is so season 1 and 2 of Archer.
ooh, okay, that's a great
Well,
comparison.
like I like to be honest, the humor's not there. Like it's not Archer funny.
Oh, uh-huh.
It's very James Gunn funny, which like if you liked his Suicide Squad, if you liked a lot of his other shows, you're gonna like this. But I just think we're getting very close to Taika Waititi
No, don't say
stuff,
that.
where you're like,
No.
okay, enough.
Yeah.
I like to I watch, as you guys all know, both me and Daniel, we watch a lot of stuff. And so sometimes I play a fun game when I'm watching something. I tend to be more snobby now with what I watch, and so when I do get to kind of like hang out and just watch Creature Commandos or something along those lines, like I really try to guess what's going to happen. And I had like a 60% hit rate with like the jokes.
Oh, damn. Well, I
Because
mean, sometimes it just becomes predictable.
I just know him so well. I just know James Gunn's stuff so well, and like
Mhm.
take that how you want it, because sometimes that's what you want, right? You want James Gunn's humor, and you want Weasel, and it's like hyper violent and funny, but then moments of sincerity, and then it's not like that Marvel undercut of like that you get in like Love and Thunder, but it's just
Mhm.
it's fine. Like they're great. I think this is a really interesting way to start his DCU. And it's almost weird. You can feel like reshoots in
Ah,
it, even in the
uh-huh.
first couple of episodes where this isn't really a spoiler because they've shown it all over like DC's channels and GameSpot everywhere. And they're just like, oh, I'll show you the future. And it shows like David Cornsweat's Superman crucified, like Jesus.
Hmm.
Which already
Okay.
is pissing off a ton of people.
Wow.
Like, and it's fine. It's
It's
fine.
fine.
Like,
I really enjoyed like the Suicide Squad, whichever the most recent one was with like Idris
mhm.
Elba. That one was great. Humor was great. Yeah, I feel like the story beats, everything felt really good. That first Suicide Squad was just rough, but I don't think James Gunn had anything to do with that. I want to say that was
That's David Ayer. Yeah. Which it's fine. Like David Ayer today, you could go on his Twitter and he's still asking like, release the Ayer cut of Suicide Squad, and it's like, dude,
I saw that.
You graduated high school 5 years ago. Stop showing up to your old homeroom and
Let it
reminiscing.
go. Oh
Like,
my God.
move on and go create another bad movie about LA fantasy cops. Like, I can't remember the name of that movie, but it's the one,
Bright.
with Bright. Yes.
Yeah.
The irony. The irony. But yeah, so before we move on from this, Tenchi says, I've already gone on record saying Gunn just makes the same movie over and over again because that's what he does. Yeah. I would really like, I don't like the Marvel DC comparison is like so trite now. Like it's just hack, but I would like to see him take less of a creative approach and more of like an overseer approach, much like Kevin Feige, because I think one of the things that he did really well is let a lot of his actors and a lot of the personalities that he hired for these roles speak for themselves, where Marvel did the opposite, where they really dampen that, like Chloe Zhao doing Eternals. Like she's an Academy Award winning director. And that movie felt like a really good college project from a script perspective. And I think if James Gunn really wants to set himself apart, like if he got someone like, oh my God, yeah, I agree. I don't even know. Like if he got like Margot Robbie to direct a film that she wanted to direct, like just let her do it and like have him come out and say, I have no creative control. Like it's all Margot. Like I think that more than the characters would differentiate them. That would give them the differentiation between the MCU and the DCU. So,
yeah, I agree because I feel like when you're kind of like you said, like he's the head of like the DC universe right now, right? So I feel like when you kind of put your fingers on the scale and like you're in charge of this product that you're making for your universe, I feel like that inherently brings like some ego with it. And it's like, well, this is my universe now. This is what I'm establishing. This is my foundation, that kind of thing, you know? And yeah, I hope that moving forward, he's got like more of like a bird's eye view of things rather than being so involved.
Yeah, it would be nice. It would be nice. We'll see. I mean, he's got a ton of work to do, like truly. But yeah, Pete says I want to see Margot direct a Harley Quinn movie. Yeah, like how Ben Affleck is like really good in movies that he directs. Like,
yeah. Have you seen I'm sure you've seen Argo. Argo was so good.
Argo's great.
The Town, both.
Of course. Yeah, he just gets it. So I'd like to see Margot do more stuff. Like I think she's gonna get there. But yeah, Creature Commandos is out. It's on Max, 2 episodes. I think every Thursday is a new episode. So yeah, they're ready to watch now. Creature Commandos, check it out. All right, you're up.
All right. Next piece of news is the box office numbers. So we wanted to talk about like how movies were performing, what really exploded over Thanksgiving break. And we've got 2 sets of numbers here. I've got one set of just Thanksgiving Day film numbers, and then as far as like the long weekend break. And I think that's like a 5-day accumulation there. So Thanksgiving Day 2024, there was a box office record set. So there was $57 million pulled in domestically from the box offices on Thanksgiving Day. And that doubled last year's numbers, more than doubled. Last year, we were looking at $22.7 million on Thanksgiving Day. So kind of crazy, but you know, you figure in like the pandemic and stuff like that. I'm sure those numbers really have like been creeping back up. I want to say I did have there's a figure from 2018, which says that there was a $41 million spent back in 2018. So the numbers have like slowly been creeping back up to where they were and now have surpassed it. As for the 5-day totals, again, another record set. Another record set rather at $412 million over the 5-day break. $412 million.
All right, what were the movies? Let's two people into the movies that helped bring the numbers in.
Top 3, we got Moana 2, at $221 million for the 5-day. Let's see.
Jeez.
Yeah, Moana 2, $221 million. Wicked, which was in its second weekend, brought in $117 million. And then at the very bottom, bottom third, Gladiator 2 brought in $44 million that weekend. It's kind of low, kind of crazy.
Ironically, we have, last Thanksgiving we had another Ridley Scott movie over, but it was Napoleon.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Yeah, so he kind of likes that window. Like he's done it before. I think the original Gladiator was also released around this window, but the deal, yes. Ron says, "I wish Wicked was doing better overseas." I think there is an inherent, just level of how do I phrase this? I feel like the idea of watching like a musical, it being two women, one of the women being of color, it performs really well. Maybe in like the UK, but like it doesn't really fly in unfortunately in like APAC countries. So like China, like it's not going to do Transformers numbers in China.
Yeah, no, the Chinese Transformers numbers were nuts. I can
Yeah.
actually speak to this a little bit. The Wizard of Oz is kind of colloquially known as like America's first fairy tale. One of like the more recognized ones. In that like this is really like as a domestic product, it really is like a fairy tale kind of like create, sold, and featuring like Americana. Because at the very beginning of the movie, she's in Kansas and she winds up in this fantasy land, only to like really be told the message of like, well, there's no place like home. Like, you were Munchkin Land's great, but you're better off in Kansas, kind of thing. And I feel like that really plays to a domestic audience a little more, right? A UK person's not really gonna have this idea of like Kansas or the Midwest or what the Dust Bowl was. That like history, that it's not quite as like deeply intertwined with like historical cultures from around the world. Whereas like a movie like Cinderella or something, that's such a like global fairy tale at this point that it really will pick up audiences like on international box offices, stuff like that. But they were. I was looking at some of the number comparisons, and they were saying like 25% of Wicked's numbers being pulled in are coming in from like overseas, whereas like normally you would see like a 75% split in the opposite direction, where some of the international markets are carrying more so than like the domestic markets are. Kind of like with Transformers.
Right. Okay. I'm tracking what you're saying. Yeah, I think you're right. A big part of that is the story of The Wizard of Oz is inherently an American story. And the idea of it not doing better, I think it more speaks to like some of the messages that Wicked is trying to get across of like acceptance, and sort of like of like acceptance and like non-culture bashing. Like it doesn't, those types of things aren't necessarily what people go to the movies for overseas. Again, maybe in just like the English speaking parts of the world, but everywhere else, like people just still genuinely use movies to just be entertained, and it's not necessarily a place where they go for values, because we are afforded that luxury where we can get our values from our, I don't know if that's necessarily the case overseas, where there's like they've got other stuff to worry about, and so they generally use it as escapism, and it exists here, of course, but like the messaging is, I feel, more predominantly stringent here. So
yeah, like here moviegoers are going to watch and like try and pick up the themes and come home with a message and all that, whereas overseas maybe just be more like entertainment value, more of a spectacle, things of that nature. But yeah, I mean,
I would say, have you seen all three of these?
No, I've only seen Wicked. I haven't seen Moana or Gladiator. I didn't really have plans to go see Gladiator. Never really like stood out to me. Love Paul Mescal, love Pedro Pascal, but not enough to go watch a Ridley Scott film featuring them for like 3 hours.
Yeah, it's It flies by. I saw Dwayne's comment saying Napoleon is no gladiator. 100%. Like,
Mm.
Napoleon is not great. It's just like Joaquin Phoenix being like, "Hey, I'm Napoleon. How are you?"
Yeah.
Like, it's it's liberties. Well, Ridley Scott tends to take a lot of liberties with his films, and I think it's funny to watch like Ridley Scott take liberties with his own film in the second one.
Uh,
And I don't think it resonated with the people that really loved the first one. Like, I feel like that movie has really found its legs afterwards. Um, and Gladiator was this like precursor to, because that came out right before like Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter, The Matrix, these movies that changed what blockbuster culture was. This movie came out right before
mhm.
that. And so now trying to capture that same like awe and wonder in a world that is dominated by IP and blockbusters, like it just doesn't hit anymore. So I found it really surprising that these three films, none of them original, were like dominating Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that just speaks to where we're at, like in
Mhm.
terms of like movies nowadays, where it's like, I there was it might have been the Thanksgiving numbers, but yeah, there was like a metric shown recently, and it was like, all the whatever the numbers they were making, and somebody commented like none of these movies are either original or based off like their original idea, like it was some kind of sequel each one.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a shame, but are they soulless cash grabs, or is there genuinely a message to speak to? I feel like Gladiator was just kind of like a crapshoot trying to capture the magic that like the Gladiator one had, and trying to capture like those fans to come watch, and it
Right,
just didn't
right.
deliver. Uh, from what I'm told, from what I've read, it just doesn't have it doesn't hit the same, like you said.
Yeah.
It's 20 years too late.
Yeah, it's interesting. And then we didn't even really spend a lot of time on Moana. Like, I watched the first one, but
Mhm.
the movie's not for me,
I
so
love Moana. I it was cute. The music was fun. From my understanding, Moana 2 is like repurposed from a series that they were going to do for Disney Plus.
mm,
And I've got a photo of the characters here. And you can see
mm,
that there's three characters on the left. And from my understanding, it was that Moana was supposed to have like an individual story featuring like each character
mm.
and go on an adventure, very like open story, closed story, chapters in like a book. And that they kind of repurposed footage, they repurposed character models, and just kind of like crammed everything in, trying to get a holiday feature in theaters uh before like they had lost anything with like the series, or before anything really got out. And everyone was kind of saying that it felt soulless. It felt like
Hmm.
they're like, here's part two, take it or leave it.
It did come out like pretty quickly. I feel like they did a good job of marketing it specifically like within their own app of like Disney Plus, and it
Mhm.
got people out to the theaters who maybe necessarily wouldn't go. There was obviously like a huge um marketing push behind it with like, The Rock and everyone doing, because everything with The Rock is always a spectacle, but like I don't know. I don't think I think it's just like that. It's what it is. It always is with these movies when people are like, I'm surprised like Inside Out 2 made $1 billion. And I'm like, yeah, it's a good movie, but Disney is brilliant at releasing movies in a time where they can get their kind of movie in a space that kind of movie is not being released. So they've got like a month where these parents can just like take their kids to school, and then they release things during like Thanksgiving break when they know their kids are going to be out. Like it's a
Yeah.
whole marketing engine. So
Oh, absolutely.
I, as always, box office numbers don't represent the quality of a film. Clearly, Avatar 2, anyone? And
Oh,
it's so again, Moana, not really for me. I probably won't be checking it out. It's not on my list. I've got a massive list of other movies to watch. But I'm glad that like these kind of movies are made. And I also think it makes me, yeah, the first one was great. Um, I'm less it. I don't know. It takes the wind out of the sails. I'm sure there's a Moana joke in there somewhere. Do it yourself. Where you're like, oh, we already have pictures of the live action movie coming out.
yeah, and the
And
timing
you're
on
like,
that was weird. I feel like they were doing like set leaks or set photos.
mhm.
Like a day or two before like Moana 2 came out. So the timing of that is all very odd. But I mean, I think we're at 8 years post release of like Moana 1. And I feel like a
Right.
10-year gap is still way too short of a time for a reboot or a live
Yeah.
action.
I mean, again, I've said this at nauseum on camera, but the reason that they're doing it is so that they can own the IP to Moana at least a little bit longer. So it's like why they do live action Cinderella movies. It's why that doomed Snow White movie is
Mm,
going to come out, because it allows them to further out the patent, well, not the patent, but the trademark on
right.
Snow White longer and longer. And they didn't take advantage of that with like Winnie the Pooh, because they're like, no one wanted Winnie the Pooh content, and they're like, well, they learned their lesson with that, and then we get that terrible. Actually, it's fun, but the horror movie,
The Pooniverse,
the
right?
Poohverse. We can't keep saying that; we're gonna get flagged. And so Disney makes magic, but you know what else Disney makes? Money. So
Absolutely.
but with all that, as I was saying, that the box office numbers don't necessarily represent how good a movie is, with one exception, and that would be Wicked.
Wicked.
Which I think this moves us into the latter half of our show. We'll spend the next 20 minutes reviewing Wicked. As promised, we wanted to talk about that film, a couple of the news stories going in and out of it, and just sort of talk about the Wicked phenomena as much as we can within 20 to 30 minutes, because it's been crazy. And Daniel, I know that Wicked means a lot to you. I have zero stock in Wicked until I watched the movie. And so I'm really interested to see like some of the other news and notes that you pulled in. And then also from everyone else, if you've watched Wicked, what did you think? Are you invested before? Like, does this make you want to watch the play, read the book? But let us know. All right, Daniel, you're up. Sorry.
All right. So, I mean, have you ever seen the play? Have you ever?
No, I've never seen the play. I mean,
read the book? Did you?
No, I didn't read
Did
the
you
book.
read my blog?
Mm-hmm. I've seen The Wizard of Oz 4 or 5 times, and I watched Wicked last week. So that's my knowledge.
Wow. Okay. Well, welcome to Oz, or Shiz University, rather. I'm about to school you.
Okay.
No, it was really good. It's hard to overstate it. It was just such a good movie. It's such a solid. Like, I'm not a huge fan of musicals. I will watch them from time to time. It just everything from the music, the acting, the sets. I mean, I've got a ton of set photos that I want to show off. It was just such a solid, well put together movie, and I feel like it really is deserving of all the praise that it's getting. It exploded onto the scene. Obviously, the play's been running since like 2003, right? So this is like the 4th longest running Broadway stage musical or stage play, something like that. So like the 4th longest one. So it's been around for forever. Obviously, the Wonderful Wizard of Oz book has been, I think, around since like 1900 something, right? You get the original Wizard of Oz movie based off that book in 1939. And then 50 something years later, you get the Wicked book. And that's what Wicked the musical is written off of, or based off of. There was a book that came out. It's very like dark, gritty. It was very much like the Snyderverse of the Oz world back in like the 90s. Great. And so that book came out, and then people were working on like this. They sold the rights to like a stage play adaptation of it, and that became a musical. And the movie is based off that musical, as you all know.
Right.
Yeah, it was incredible. It's 2.5 hours long. I want to say it's 2 hours 40 minutes.
2 hours 40 minutes.
2 hours 40 minutes. And it doesn't feel like it. It feels like a hour and a half long movie. It flies by. But yeah, it's incredible. I really want to talk about let's see. Well, I want to do the sets first, because the sets are insane.
Well,
this is Dancing Through Life. Sorry.
Let's do it this way. How we a little inside in behind the Oz curtain of how I like to talk about movies. And if some of you have been following Yeah, it is. Following either myself or stuff I'm doing for a while, I have this system of how I rank, of how I review things, and it's called the AIM system, AIM, and accessibility, interest, and like mood. So that's kind of how we like to talk about movies. And what Daniel just covered, all of that background is the accessibility. Like, what are some things you would need to know to make the movie more accessible to people like me, or to just the smut book readers? And damn. I mean, it's good. It's not that good, but
It's a good film, and it's
Jimmy
only like
Garland's
70 minutes. Movies
That's
were way
true.
shorter back then.
Yeah, movies were way shorter. Yeah, because people have to get back to like the fields. Anyways, and then is interest. Like, what's the overall interest of people who are watching it? Who would like this? What's the overall interest of the industry in this project? And the M is like mood. Like, how did you feel when you left it? Which is, I think, the most important part of any movie. How did you feel when you left it? So, as far as like the interest in it, like what are some of the interesting things that like the industry or people are saying about this film that you think are like adding to the Wicked phenomena?
And there's a lot going into it. There's a lot of like meta level, like the interviews. People are talking about like the cast rather, and like how they've been in interviews, which I think you had a note on it. And there's the crying thing, the holding space thing, like the interviews about the movie have become meme worthy and like are highly spoken of and talked about enough where everything's just kind of like circulating, and we're really starting to see like the Wicked phenomena of it all. Yeah. And it's one of those things where it's like, you hear Wicked, you hear, the Wicked Witch of the West. I think I mentioned it earlier, like the Wizard of Oz is so deeply ingrained into like American culture that like everyone knows like phrases like the man behind the curtain, or the Wicked Witch of the West, or follow the yellow brick road. Like, even if you haven't seen the movie, you've probably heard these before. You've probably heard or seen references to Wizard of Oz and not known, something, we're not in Kansas anymore. All sorts of stuff, right? So when it comes to like how deeply ingrained it is to everybody, like it's almost like a reboot or like a refresh. It's fresh on everyone's minds. And I feel like that really is playing into it, where now you're starting to see like those cast interviews going around, and you're starting to see like people talk about it more. It almost had a Barbenheimer moment. But I'm glad it stood on its own feet. It came out like the week before Thanksgiving. And it really kind of like started a slow leak before like the floodgates really opened up.
Do you see what Ron? Pull up Ron's comment. I didn't want to bring it out, but Ron says, I fell into the hype, ended up getting the dolls. So many links to porn under my Christmas tree. If you aren't familiar with that, first of all, right now, if you're watching, do not go to wicked.com.
Right. What is we gotta make sure to include that.
I think it's Wicked the movie, but do it on your own time. Essentially, Wicked is a company that makes porn, and so when they were QAing the dolls for when the dolls for Wicked the movie were coming out, the link in the like T's and C's, the terms and conditions on the bottom, someone didn't check it and just typed, like, maybe nonchalantly just put in wicked.com, which on these dolls leads to a porn site.
I promise it's just Wicked the movie, not porn.
that's the URL that someone bought, and they're like, this is gonna hit one day. It's like gold. Yeah,
I'm sure there's already an adult film remake of Wicked in the works. I know for a fact there's a Wizard of Oz one.
Yeah. Oh, do you? Do you know for a fact?
I know for a fact. It was on a podcast I listened to, and yeah, we won't get into that. But it's one of those things where it's like, how did this get by any of the marketing team? Did nobody check this?
Yeah. Well, so anyways, aside from the pornography that Daniel's peddling, I'm gonna have to go to confession this Christmas. Yeah, you can just do it here. It's fine, Ron. It's the same. I'm ordained, actually. So, wickeder. So, Daniel, I know you were mentioning that some of the things that people are really, really enjoying about the movie. I do want to talk a little bit about, before we get too much more into the marketing, the interviews and some of the push around our two main stars, which are, of course, Cynthia Erivo, who plays Elphaba, And of course, Ariana Grande, who plays Glinda?
Glinda.
It's Glinda in the beginning.
It's Galinda in the
Okay.
beginning.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, Pete, that's exactly how I felt. Like he was, he doth protest too much. And in their interviews, how would you explain their demeanor in the interviews? Go ahead.
They're theater kids.
Yes,
And that's pretty much
exactly.
it.
They are all the theater kids that are
Mhm.
sitting at the Denny's practicing their lines like at 9 p.m. after
Yeah.
they've just gotten done with their like modern rendition of Fiddler. Like, like it's Fiddler, but it's in space. And
yeah.
they're all just theater kids. That's exactly what I was gonna say too.
Yeah, no,
And
that's all
you
it is.
forget that.
They're all holding space for each other and
Oh God.
really sitting with the lyrics. Uh, it is a little cringy, because there have been like 9 interviews where they've like burst into tears mid-interview.
Yeah.
But I think that all that also comes from like the place of like these are theater kids and like they really do connect with the story, with like whatever show they're in at the moment. Ariana Grande had a showmance develop off this
Oh, right. With
film
SpongeBob, right?
with SpongeBob. Yeah.
Yeah.
Bach.
Bach. Is that his name? Bach?
His name's Bach.
Yeah.
B-O-Q.
Okay. Yes, they are probably there. I think
Drama.
it also, so what it is really is like those two characters are, obviously made most famous by Kristen Chenoweth and Idina Menzel, are like the freaking Super Bowl for theater kids. Like
Mhm.
these are in the modern day. Even I know this, that they are like dream roles to portray on like Broadway. So for Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo to get to portray these characters on the big screen in the first ever film adaptation of this massive play, like I completely understand why they're so emotional.
Mhm.
It's just the 9th time I start to wear on me. Like
Right.
the holding space. Can you explain that? The holding space.
Holding space.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was based off an interview that was going on. It was Ariana and Cynthia being interviewed, and I forget the interviewer's name, but she said that it's become a spectacle. Like it's becoming a thing where people are really holding space with these lyrics and holding them close. And Cynthia and Ariana, you can tell like, and Ariana Grande's come out since and said like she really didn't understand the question, so she was just kind of like a good theater kid. She was yes-anding
And
her
she
way
can't
through,
see.
and
She does that a lot.
yeah, she does the squinting a lot. Our blind queen.
Yes.
And yeah, it was like, and both her and Cynthia Erivo, they both really didn't really know what was going on when the interviewer asked that question, and it just kind of became this whole like meme off of that. But yeah, it was really just, it was something the interviewer said, and you can see like both of them are both kind of like, uh-huh, yeah, it's very important that we hold space for that. And they were just kind of like bullshitting their way through it. There's a moment where Ariana Grande like reaches over and she grabs a single finger from Cynthia Erivo in like support. I've already seen that on a t-shirt. And it's just like a
Of
close up of like
course.
her hand holding the finger.
It's like the new is it David?
Michelangelo and David.
Michelangelo? What's it called?
It's like
The
God,
something with,
God and David or something.
yeah, it's that.
Yeah.
But for Pride.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm sure you're gonna see those this Pride season. It's gonna be wicked.
I also want to talk about even the play. I did a little bit more research on the play because I've never seen it, and it obviously completely missed me. But I didn't realize how impactful the original run, and to this day, the play is in in the queer community. Like it is such a massive play, and I didn't really realize that it was like such a refuge is some of the words. Adam and God. Yeah.
Adam and God. Yeah,
Not Adam and Steve. And such like a refuge for so many people in that community who sometimes had felt very isolated from roles on Broadway. Like Broadway at that time, I think was it like 2004, 2005 that the original play came out?
Three.
Or three? Had kind of, like you had like Avenue Q and you had the
Which it lost to. I mean, we can get into that, but yeah,
which
Wicked
it lost
lost
to,
to
which is a
Avenue
whole
Q.
thing. But I think Idina Menzel still won, like for
Yeah.
her piece. But there was this like I'm going to make up a word, but it's like remasculating of Broadway with like the likes of like Hugh Jackman, who were like considered, like delicate, effeminate men, but then were straight. And so that this film, Adele deceived. Yes, I know.
The wickedly talented.
Um, so like it's just I didn't realize how integral, to some people in the theater and queer community that this play was. And then you see that in the movie, it felt almost so intentional that so many of these characters were also part of the LGBTQ community. And I don't know, I think it was great. Like I didn't know Cynthia Erivo was like a queer icon.
Yeah. Oh, and not for all the best reasons.
Ah,
Yeah, she became a mistress at one point to Lena Waithe. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the name, but she's another actress. She kind of broke up a marriage. But so did Ariana Grande, allegedly, with
Yeah.
Bach. So, there's a whole
Back
lot
to
of that.
Alexis point, I can tell why they're holding fingers. They're definitely like trauma bonding there for sure.
There was a lot going on Wicked, and I'm not sure if you're aware, but like the movie was shooting, and then it got struck during the strikes, and they had to like stop production, and they were stopped for like 5 or 6 months, and then they came back, and I think the last thing they had to do was Defying Gravity, which is like the anchor point of the whole film, and it really was like the emotional anchor for the film. So like for them to have to like step away, kind of disconnect from the characters for so long, and then come back and still deliver like as an emotional like gut punch as it did, it was really impressive.
It was.
I mean, I'm
really
sure.
was.
I think that final number there's a shot where it's like a really wide shot of like the castle, and you can see her in her cape, and like she doesn't dominate the screen. She's kind of smaller in the screen. And I like physically gasped or audibly gasped. I was in there. I was like, the gay gasp heard around the theater.
Yes, that old Agatha Christie book.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Jen, we've moved on from Michelangelo. We're talking about Jonathan Bailey now, please.
Which again, he was great.
He was great. I enjoyed his. Oh yeah. Oh, so you've got the cast here. You got you got Tyrion up here.
Tyrion. I think he was probably the weakest of the bunch, truthfully.
Well, he's a goat, Daniel.
What
the hell is he supposed to do? Yeah, he's not Tom Brady. Like he's not gonna like go in there and like. I mean, I understand that he's like a catalyst moment for the play. Like I understand it's like a huge piece. But I watched some of the other versions of the what's his name,
Dr. Dillamond.
Dr. Dillamond, from like Broadway, and I was like, he's fine. Like he's not great. Like I want to see Idina Menzel. Like that's why I'm here.
Yeah. You know why we're here.
But one of the things I wanted to bring up to, kind of, sort of moving into territory that I want to talk about is Oscar season. Like, I think that this movie has so much going for it. And from I'm not on Twitter, but, bro Reddit, film Reddit, people are saying like, this is going to be holding the space. It's true. Boo. We all watched you type that terrible joke. We stopped the show so we can watch you.
Sorry. I couldn't help
it. You could have. And I think one of the things that people are like really, really, really praising this for is the set design. Yes. Because I looked at this and I also did the gay gasp and was like, holy shit, dude. This looks so good. There is so much practicality in these sets that it makes sense why a lot of the actors felt so empowered to sing live, like Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo. They did against the better wishes of John M. Chu, the director. They did a lot of their singing and recording live, which just really doesn't happen anymore. But also, like, you got Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande, like two generational voices. Like, what are you going to say no to them?
And I think that was like a huge consideration when casting the film, is that like you could have cast nobodies, right? But A, they would have lacked the star power, and B, like the professionalism. Like, we know Ariana Grande could sing. We know Cynthia Erivo could sing. So like they were the best picks that I couldn't think of anybody else that would play the roles better than like the originals, you know? But yeah, I feel like you said, like it, when you do live practical sets, live singing, like I feel like there's so much more immersion there. You know, like you really can lose yourself to the story, lose yourself to the character. I mean, in this set alone, there was like three, you can kind of see them. There's 3 book ladders that spun individually during the choreo. So not only do the actors have to learn their lines, their marks, the choreo, they also have to not get squished by this giant ladder. There's a lot to focus on.
It is. There is a lot of focus on, and you know, one of the things that I wanted to talk about again as someone who's completely new to Wicked as an art, is I know Kristen Chenoweth is Glinda. I know that, but for me, it's Ariana Grande because she's a revelation, dude. Like, even Daniel with this picture that he printed from a microwave, clearly.
No, this is just a color grade.
Well, it's not going to win that Oscar. So she was so good that I think maybe in another world we could have had a different Elphaba. Maybe. I don't know who, but I cannot see another Glinda that is not Ariana Grande. Like,
agreed. Yeah.
She was just so talented, mixed in with like her. I think what's also so impressive is she's already such an impressive artist with so many accolades, and like the fact that she can have this whole scandal and everyone's like, I'm still gonna buy her album because like she's like that's a power that she has. And the fact that she can sort of put all that noise out, she's so talented that she as a character can block that noise out and bring that character into a modern and new place, which has existed for 2 decades.
Yeah.
And people, you know, even Kristen Chenoweth, like saying like, that's like, I mean, we're very different characters, but like she could never go where she went, is impressive. Like,
and especially with like the cast recording, like, obviously there's the original Broadway run, which we get the cast recording from. So that's Idina Menzel and Kristen Chenoweth. And then there's like the national tours, right? Which, I mean, they don't get their own recording. They don't get their own copy of it. You know, they sing the song live, but when you go to listen to it, you're still hearing Idina Menzel and Kristen Chenoweth. So I feel like it's an uphill battle, right? Because like so many people are locked into those tracks, to those voices. And for a lot of people, it's like, oh, Idina is always going to be my Elphaba, or Kristen Chenoweth's always going to be my Glinda. And I feel like the two of them, Cynthia and Ariana, really came in and like really did like a number on that perception. And I feel like this could be the start of like a new generation of like, well, this is my Elphaba, and you know, this is my Glinda. And I don't know, I feel like they really did knock it out of the park.
Yeah, I found most elements to be great. I do love, like, I know there's a lot of people and like a lot of the hack reviews you're going to see from like Variety and IndieWire. They're like, as someone who doesn't like musicals, it's like, okay,
yeah,
enough, dude. Like, it's fine. Like, talk about the movie. Like, I love musicals. Like, I tend to enjoy, I enjoy musicals on screen. Okay. I don't know if I like musicals so much like going to the theater. Like, I don't know, there's just a disconnect that I have. But I tend to like most recently, like Wonka. Like, I thought Wonka was really great, and I found it to be moving, much like Wicked. But there are always the same issues, and they kind of yeah, that would be something. There are always like the same issues that I have, and I had the same issues with like this film,
Mhm.
which not to be too negative, because we just, as my 22-year-old coworker says, glazed this movie.
Uh-huh.
We there are things that I think will like keep it out. Like again, it's gonna hold space in that Barbie position where like
Uh-huh.
everyone was like Barbie was important and culturally very good, but there was still like issues. Like there were still like scripting issues. Like the whole Mattel Will Ferrell bit really
Oh,
keeps
yeah.
Barbie from being like an incredible Academy Award winning Best Picture film. You know, with Wicked, again, we're kind of getting a little bit into spoiler territory here, but it's been out for 2 decades, so I don't feel too bad. With Wicked, I found the focus on the animal subplot to be a little half baked in this film. Now, I
Mhm.
can't speak to the play, but in this film, a little half baked. The animal CGI is terrible. I
But
found
the
it to be
sugar glider drummer.
I found it to be really distracting. Um, and I found everyone to be so perfectly cast. Like, even with me saying what I said about like Alphaba, like if you like you would have to search for a few years to find anyone that could play it like Cynthia Erivo,
Mhm.
except for
Mhm.
one person. I really wish Jeff Goldblum was in the film.
Really? Yeah.
I found him to be as distracting as the CGI, and the fact that he like couldn't sing or they didn't bring in someone who was as distracting.
Right. Right.
I don't feel like Jeff Goldblum was acting, which is like normally part of the Jeff Goldblum, Bill Murray type of like charm.
Right. Right.
But in this film, it didn't work.
Yeah,
Uh,
I
for
agree.
me, for me, I don't know who else it would have been, but I'm sure there are 1,000, uh, you know, Oz's. What was it? Wizards? Wizards?
Wizards? Yeah.
Yeah, I think there are 1,000 wizards out there from the theater world that could have crushed this role, like someone who deserves their flowers, who's been touring and touring and touring. And I just felt
Mhm.
Jeff Goldblum was a huge, huge miss on this film. And between the animal plot, the CGI, and the Goldblum stuff, like it's gonna keep it out of winning like the what they say above the belt Oscars, which is like
Mhm.
actor, script, screenplay, stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
That's my piece.
I would have killed to see like James Spader play the Wizard of Oz. Just he's like real deep,
I
grumbly.
think. Oh no,
That
he's not. No,
he's got to play
Kevin Spacey.
Ultron.
Yeah, Kevin Spacey is the one that's like not allowed to be on camera
Mm.
anymore. Yeah.
I don't think he's allowed to set foot in the U.S. anymore.
No, thank God. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know who it was. I think the wizard, like, because Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo at that point are just chugging along so well in the story
Mhm.
that when you get to the wizard, it's just distracting. You're like, and now Jeff Goldblum's here, and it's like full stop.
Yeah, agreed. I'm hoping that in part 2 we get a little bit more of whatever it was that like really sold John M. Chu on Jeff Goldblum.
Yeah.
And I think that maybe just what we're not seeing yet is that we haven't seen him like kick in the charm too much. We haven't seen him pull out the Jeff Goldblumisms quite as
Yeah.
much. But yeah, I do think he was miscast, and I think him and Michelle Yeoh were both a little miscast in this
Oh,
one.
right. I just think of that shirt, little miscast.
Miscast.
Sorry, I couldn't. Yeah, Michelle Yeoh also didn't really get a lot to do. Like those two supporting characters, like I think could have gone to people who deserved it within the theater realm, who've been portraying these characters.
I
Like,
see what you're saying. Yeah.
Laura says I didn't mind Jeff Goldblum. I don't know. It's just maybe it's just me. I tend to like Jeff Goldblum in a lot of stuff, but like I just felt like this movie, while didn't, necessarily take itself seriously at the point in which we get a lot of Jeff Goldblum.
Uh-huh.
It's just too much. Oh,
This was the 4-week gap that his apartments.com ads had in his shooting schedule. So I'm glad we got him for what we got.
I know. Tenchi says, honestly, if he hadn't been so busy at the time, they should have just cast Sting. Oh, as the wizard. We know he can sing and he has the dark gravitas on screen. I don't know a damn thing about Sting on camera. So,
Really?
yeah, what else? What's he been in?
Only Murders in the Building?
Oh, right. The dog, right? Isn't that the one where he has like the dog? He's like, "Are you gonna kill my dog?" He's like, "You gotta kill his dog." They're in the
Oh,
elevator.
yeah.
Yeah.
He lives in their building or something.
Right.
But no, I really couldn't tell you what else he's been in. But I imagine he's been in a few things.
Yeah, Tenchi will tell
He
us.
was in Dune,
The old dude.
the old Dune. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Uh, Fade
Guys,
up.
these are not modern films. We were not born when the films. I'm talking like Dunkirk. Was he in Dunkirk?
Oh, we're getting schooled.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, okay. Jeez. Um.
We're
Yeah. So it's
uncultured.
yeah. That's true. There was only one Dune in his Denis Villeneuve's. Um. I don't care. Just at Daniel, please, for all the hate mail. Yeah. I mean, honestly, Wicked is going to continue to be just this like massive sensation because it's just like what we were talking about with like Marvel Rivals to kind of bring everything full circle is like, yes, is Marvel Rivals basically like a ripoff and something we've seen 1,000 times before? Yes. But the quality is so good that you just can't deny it, right? It's like someone is so talented, you just can't deny it. And that's how I feel with Wicked. Like the performances, the set design, even like the pacing, the cinematography is so good in the movie that you just can't, like, you can't deny the fact that it's really, really good.
Mhm.
And you know, again, aside from its I think very few flaws and like really kind of me like nitpicking some stuff, like maybe the CGI is better than I thought. I don't know, but like it was distracting to me, and maybe Jeff Goldblum's fine on a rewatch. Like the movie just it really shines. It really shines. I also think it's the kind of movie that like we need right now because like Gladiator was like so dark, and that was like a bad version of a rehash. Moana is like not everyone's demo and a
Mhm.
rehash. So like Wicked it just existed um, in this odd little corner where it had everything going for it. And really the only people it was going to disappoint were like theater fans.
Yeah,
Like
the
the
Die Hard.
general audience didn't really care. And so they were able to tailor this film to the theater to a very small demographic, which it just happened to work.
If I can, this was the first look that we ever had from the movie. This was like a year and some ago.
Mm.
This was our first look at
Wow.
Glinda. Yeah. And from then on, like, I don't know if you remember, but like Twitter was alight
Yeah.
with people just like bagging on it. They're like, this is gonna be so bad. Like, look, it just looks awful. And
Mhm.
for them to go from that to this, I'm sure we're gonna see, you know, this eventually, but I'm really pleased with what we got at the end of the day.
Yeah, as I do, I very very much look forward to every movie that's coming out in the coming year. And this movie, I don't think I'm being like, contrite when I say it was a joke. Like this movie was like the joke of Hollywood, and it was like, oh, like this Wicked movie's coming out. It's gonna just perform. I don't know, like, oh, you know what it was? People were like, this is Cats.
Yeah.
Like truly, people were thinking this movie was just going to be Cats, and then it came out, and like then even like friends I know in the industry started seeing it, and they're like, "Holy shit, dude! Like this movie is legit."
It's good. I think it's got the legs to be like the next like Grease, if that makes
Mm,
sense. Like a long-standing musical, something that you know my mom still does like
words.
at least a monthly watch of Grease. She
Yeah,
loves it. But I think it's gonna hold up. I think it's gonna hold up for a long time, personally.
yeah, truly. And I hate to say this, but Wicked, the part one, is going to be defined by the second movie.
Yeah.
If the second movie, it's just like Game of Thrones. First 5 seasons are fantastic, but people don't ever talk about that. They only
Mhm.
talk about the last season. So I think, which we didn't even really get into, but I think it being a part two is a mistake. But I've never seen the play, so I don't know if fitting everything into one movie is unheard of. So I don't know. I think we'll see. I really want the movie to do very, very well. Like you said, like have the legs of Grease or like a Mamma Mia or something.
Mamma mia.
But I think it's really going to be defined by its second film. So we'll see.
We'll see. We'll have
So
to see what it brings.
You'd recommend Wicked, I'd say.
Nah, stream it, rent it. No, yeah, of course.
That's still a recommendation, by the way. That's
That
like
is still a recommendation.
that's like an IGN 7. It's like it's fine, you know.
Yeah, no, I absolutely go see this in theaters. I would be cautious because in our showing we had a couple people that were like starting to sing and immediately got like shushed into
Oh, really?
shame. Uh-huh.
Oh yeah.
And you can tell it was somebody that had probably seen it because I mean we've seen it twice now. We saw it like opening week and then I think like a week and a half later, something like that. But yeah, enough time had passed where people like knew the music, knew the songs. We also made the mistake of watching them at like 11 at night. So it was naturally just a quieter theater. So it was like us 4, 5 or so. We were in like a little group, and then there was like another group down in the at the corner, and they were the ones that are starting to like sing a little bit. And it's just like
hear
it's
him
your
like
theater kids.
Something has no.
Yeah,
Shut up. Yes, a boot. Well, everyone, that's a show. We went over. We knew we were going to go over a little bit. But I don't think there's a part 3. I hope that's not happening.
The squeakquel.
The squeakquel. I can do Alvin. I can't get my voice that high. Well, everyone, thank you so very much. Again, lots of news. We also had, I know we didn't really get a chance to talk about it, but there were like flash bits of news, like the Golden Globes. The Golden Globe announcements came out, and that's a whole thing that we could have had an entire show about. We also had Jeremy Allen White is joining Mando as what Rhoda? What I don't know.
Rhoda
the Hutt?
Yeah, Jabba the Hutt's son or something.
I don't know.
You guys will correct for sure.
A glove shido. You guys will correct us of the names and everything. I mean, I don't know if I mean, like, I don't care. I'm like, maybe that's what I'm getting at. I don't care about him joining the Star Wars universe. I'm like, please just work on season 4 and 5 of The Bear, and I want to see this Bruce Springsteen documentary movie. So we'll see. We'll see how it's going. But also, Chris Evans is rejoining the MCU apparently
in a different role. Like I imagine they can't make him.
I don't know. Like,
it's probably gonna be a voice actor role or like a voiceover role rather. I don't know.
I bet you it's Johnny Storm or something. Like,
oh, yeah, damn.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. Sure. I feel the same way I do about Downey joining. Why not? Like, everyone's gonna see it anyways, and just get it over with. Like, they don't have the staying power anymore to be like, oh, we're gonna leak these. We're gonna leak this bit of news. It's like no one cares anymore. They're just all gonna check on new rock stars. He's gonna be the voice of Herbie. Yeah.
Who's Herbie? Is that
the car? I think
the car.
Yeah. Isn't Herbie the no?
Herbie's the
race car. The movie isn't that the movie with Lindsay Lohan?
Yeah. Herbie Fully Loaded. I want to say
that's what it is. Yeah, which is canonically an MCU villain. Yeah, he fought. He fought against he fought with the Axis powers. Herbie did actually.
Axis powers.
So yeah, I know, Dwayne. I thought about that too when they announced Chris Evans. Until you're 90. Well, I'll say Chris Evans needs a win right now because let's just say Red One is already racking up the nominations for Razzies. So he
the robot from Fantastic Four.
Oh, okay. Well, still a car. Still a car. All right, everyone. Well, we will see you guys next week, which would be December 16th, 7 p.m., same place. And as we've been doing, we're already ahead. I've already got some of that show scripted, and we already have a thumbnail. So next week, we will be doing... Daniel, you want to do the Ren Fair? And you're not even doing... Okay, I'll do it. I was going to say do a horn, but we are doing a top 10 Christmas song review because 'tis the season, and so we will be going over some of our favorite Christmas songs collectively. Maybe it's going to be a mixed batch of some of our favorites and then some of the general public's favorites. So come with some of your favorite Christmas songs as we get into the spirit of Christmas with our Christmas review. Yeah, it is jolly. I'm very excited.
We're fun. We have fun here.
We're fun. Yeah, so thank you guys so much. We'll see you next week for our Christmas song review. Daniel, as always, thank you so very much for all your hard work on the show. I will see you in 5 minutes as I am getting my ass beat in Marvel Rivals. So
I'll be beating that ass.
All right. Easy, Jonathan Bailey. And so thank you guys all so much. We will see you again at 7 p.m. next week. Yeah, I know. There's a lot of songs I get, like we're going to like probably skip the Mariah Careys and maybe do some of the more weird songs that are out there.
Yeah, definitely. Deeper cuts.
That it'll be more fun. So thank you guys all so much. We'll see you next week. Remember to like what you love what you like, and don't be a dick about it. I forget that it's our channel. We can just cuss if we want to.
It's our channel. We can say what we want.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
I don't know what Jeremy Allen White's doing.